I'm new to AR-15s, as having recently purchased this one 2 weeks ago, and as I'm getting into it, the thing is just a blast to have around, you should pardon the expression. The magazine's out, as you can see, and we have the chamber safety in, the chamber's empty, and what's happened here is I decided I'm going to change the trigger and put in a Geissele SSA trigger in this. We're going to do that today. The reason being, I had the opportunity to use an SSA on the range. Someone else let me try theirs, and there is just such a world of difference between the two triggers. The stock trigger has very little play on it. You can't feel where you are. Sorry about that. You can't feel where you are, and it's tight, and as soon as you start to come down, you basically shot your round. It leaves little margin for error, and the SSA, I just felt, gave me that play. I knew where the break was going to be, and I knew when the gun was going to fire with more certainty. So we're going to open this thing up, and we're going to try and do the trigger today. I've never gotten that far into this before. We'll be stopping and starting as we go along. So, you know, we'll be clipping these together. First thing we're going to do is pop the lower, and we got the 2 teardown bolts. We're going to pop those out. I'll trust you know how to do that. They pop from the other side here. Okay, I'm sure you're aware they pop up from the other side, and then you pull them up, and you pull this one up, and then we can separate our upper from the lower, and we got our trigger. Okay, and going to get in there in a minute, and I will be back. Okay, if you have an ambi bolt release, it will be under the pin will be under it, so you will have to remove that. I had to remove mine. Have the hammer in the forward position, release it slowly so you don't whack your receiver and damage the aluminum. You have 2 pins to remove, and you know, keep control of your hammer and trigger because of the springs in there. And I've started the removal of the hammer spring, so I will finish that off camera since I'm taping this alone. I will then go ahead and remove the trigger. Now, once they're out, I intend to clean up the inside of the receiver, and then we'll be back and install the Geissele. The hammer and trigger came out easily enough. Now, I removed the hammer first by pushing out the hammer bolt pin, and that pushes out relatively easy. You should have a push, and you may need a little hammer to tap that out. Keep your hand over it, and it'll come out very easily for you. It's not going to go flying. Then I did the trigger, same thing. Kept my, keep control of it, and then it just wiggles right out. So we got the original hammer trigger, and we got the original hammer. Both are out, and they go in the spare parts pile. And then we will be putting in the new Geissele hammer and the new Geissele trigger. Okay, and again, as a reminder, the only you don't have to remove the safety. That's fine. But if you have an ambi bolt release, that will have to come off because that mounts right over the pinhole. Okay, so forewarned there. And now I'm going to clean up the receiver. The previous owner didn't appear to be very good at housekeeping. We're going to clean that up, and get set to put in the Geissele. And I'm not going to make you watch that, so we will be back as soon as that's cleaned out. Now we're going to be installing the trigger first, obviously, and they want you to remove the pin, but you're going to be putting in a guide pin first to keep everything together, and that is supposed to just push out. There we go. That just pushes through. Maybe. There we go. Now we're going to seat the trigger in there, get it under the safety. Okay, so we have that in there under the safety, and now we got to line that up and get our pin back in. And now I've added some lube to the bore holes for the hammer. We now have to put the hammer in. Spring comes up around the back, and then the wings go down over the trigger pin. So we're going to try and get that in there. And we have to hold that in, and then line that up and try and hold it and get the pin back in. Let me flip this over this way. It's given me a little bit of a hard time here, but we will get it. There we go. Okay. And we'll try giving it a little tap. And there we go. Okay, so that's in, hammer's in position. Put it on safety. Let's cock it. Put it on safe first, just in case. Let's protect it. That's not going anywhere. Put it on fire, and there we go. Okay. Now the difference with the, I now can feel exactly where that hammer is going to break, which I couldn't feel with the original. So I have the play, I know where it's going to go, and it goes. So I feel a little more secure knowing I have control of the hammer, and there we go. Now we're all back together, at least for the moment. I've charged it. Safety's off. Put the safety on, and it does not fire. Take the safety off. I now have a stop here. The initial movement to the trigger. I know where I am, and now I can feel when the gun's going to fire better. Now, it's a more secure feeling, I think safer in the long run, and hopefully make things more accurate in the long run. So there you go. Little awkward getting the hammer in. Also remember to lubricate the contact points on the hammer. Other than that, pretty straightforward and not as difficult as I thought it was going to be. So good luck if you do it. Definite difference over the original. Okay, now to clean the rest of the damn gun.